don't eat much, won't that lose weight?
Not eating will starve the metabolism and it won't kick fire.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And belly fat can be really stubborn, actually. So sometimes we look and try to look at diet and lifestyle as always the first way we're going to target belly fat, but definitely not eating can contribute to fat stores for sure.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm eating lean cuisines and the stuff Carrie suggested and drinking silk milk. It just doesn't seem to want to come off me this time. I lost 40 pounds about a year and a half ago. It was gone in an instant, and now it's come back. And
So did you say you're drinking milk?
no, I'm silk milk.
So, well, silk is from soy.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
The coconut.
Soy can also be a plant estrogen, which can, in some people, contribute to belly fat.
No.
I would suggest trying to switch over to a different plant-based milk, maybe almond or coconut, and try that. A lot of people seem to like the coconut milk for sure, and see if that can help kind of decrease.
Do you understand, Mike, about the estrogen with the soy?
Yeah, I read about it last night, but the silk milk that I'm drinking is the coconut flavored, and I'm a milk freak, but I know that's not good for you to drink just, regular homogenized milk. So
How much milk are you drinking per day?
Geez, 4 big glasses, I guess.
Yeah, I would definitely try the almond milk or coconut milk and see if that helps a little bit.
Okay, explain to me, Carrie, because you said you need to eat little meals throughout the day.
Well, versus starving your body.
Right.
So typically, how many meals do you eat a day? Whether they're large or small, what's the number?
Probably 2.
What do they consist of?
What's that?
What do they consist of?
Vegetables, and then I get the bags of frozen fruit and I munch on those, but I haven't been consistent. So, and an extra cheeseburger here and there doesn't help.
No, and having a good protein to balance out and keep your blood sugars more stable is going to be really important too, Michael.
Okay.
So we have another question from Edwin. It says, how long have you both been practitioners in homeopathy?
I've been a practitioner licensed since the year 2011.
And I am not new to medicine, but I am new to homeopathy. So I've been a registered nurse for the last 17 and a half years. Oh my gosh, that feels like it dates me. But I just passed boards for my advanced practitioner in homeopathy this summer. So
Congratulations.
I'm a baby on the homeopathy side of things, but I've been into holistic medicine and functional medicine for, I would say, the last 10 years. We have another question, Carrie. What is your best advice on starting a mindfulness meditation routine? A mindfulness or meditation routine? Do you recommend any apps to help with starting a meditation habit?
I personally don't have any apps, but I know that you have to dedicate time for yourself, whether it be a meditative prayer, meditation, walks outdoors, any type of activity or their lack thereof, just being still, keeping oneself still and focusing on yourself and your breathing would be helpful. I don't have any screening yet. So
Okay.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
Yeah, you can just jump in here.
But as far as apps, Jenny would know which apps to recommend. Okay.
So, yeah, I definitely think my best advice on starting a mindfulness meditation a mindfulness practice or meditation practice is definitely consistency and really being gentle with yourself with it. I can't tell you how many people I talk to at first that say, I tried meditation and my mind is always running and I just can't do it. And that's really not true. That's very normal at the beginning. And there's kind of a time frame, it's probably different for everyone, that you have to get through in your practice until you actually get into those deep meditative states and start. But most people start reaping benefits right away. And by the end of 12 weeks of meditating every day for 20 minutes, you see changes in cholesterol levels, blood pressure levels, stress, overall just stress levels and overall health. You see difference in like how productive you are at work or at school. And those are people who don't even really feel a difference. So my advice on that is really just make that commitment for every day, whether you feel like you see results or not. Some people, I even like to see journaling, like kind of how long it takes you to do your weekly report and how long does it take you at the beginning of the 3 months and at the end. How stressed do you feel? How is your blood pressure, kind of whatever benefits you're really hoping to get from it. Being able to look at that and see a difference, it's usually pretty noticeable. And then some apps to help with starting a meditation habit. A lot of people like the app Calm. And there's a ton of meditation apps out there. There's Calm, there's Waking Up. It's a Sam Harris app. Breathe. And I want to say I like Breathe as well. I think those are probably the top 3 I would recommend to get started with. Thank you. That was a great question.
Jen, I didn't know, Jen, that meditation helped lower blood pressure. For all of you out there who have high blood pressure, how long does it take? Just a few minutes a day?
Yeah.
To start seeing reductions in blood pressure?
Even 5 minutes a day is impressive. The studies were 20 minutes a day. It's okay. The studies were conducted on 20 minutes a day for 12 weeks. But you can change so many vital signs. There's Tibetan monks that have been, obviously they're, monks and they meditate for a long period of time, but they can be in the mountains in the Himalayas and have cold, wet cloths laid on them with like no shirt on, and they can meditate enough to raise their body temperature to make the water evaporate and dry the sheets.
Really? That's remarkable.
Yeah. Harvard has done some of the most amazing studies on meditation, but you can change you can change all your vital signs. You can change so much about your health and your experience in life in general.
That's
with
amazing.
meditation. It's pretty powerful. And even what I think is the coolest part of that is there have been so many studies and so much evidence on how much it can change your brain chemistry and your overall physiology, that Western medicine about 5 years ago has completely adopted transcendental meditation specifically into the Western medical community. They even offer continued education hours to medical professionals who learn meditation techniques to teach, because it makes such a big difference in overall health. So if it's something used to be kind of out there and the Western world's adopted it, the evidence is outstanding. It can help cure cancer. It just
I've heard that about the cancer.
Yeah, the studies on meditation are just profound. It's amazing. So we have another question. Do you think IV therapy can help with managing diabetes? Can I take that one? You want me to?
You can take it.
Okay. I definitely think IV therapy can help assist with that. Diabetes is definitely one of those things where we like to see lifestyle changes as well. IV therapy should be used as supportive, and IV therapy is life-changing, but I don't think that that's the only, that's really that's not the only thing that we should implement if we are looking at a patient with diabetes. I definitely think the most powerful impact we can have with diabetes
It's diet.
is lifestyle
Yeah,
changes.
right.
Yeah.
I wonder which IVs would be recommended for diabetes.
The whole kelox therapy, because we're
Just
going to want
detoxing.
alkalize,
Okay.
detox, support all
Liver
of the
cleansing,
organs.
right? Lower, right. It's okay.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you for your questions, you guys. These are great.
Let's see what else.
So this one's for Carrie. Can you please explain hydrocolon therapy and why is it beneficial?
Colon hydrotherapy has dated back to the Egyptian times, and colon hydrotherapy is beneficial because so often we don't drink enough water. And so water is the key. Water will hydrate all of the organ systems in the body. So when your colon is dehydrated, I think 80% of my patients constipate. Colon hydrotherapy will hydrate the entire length of the colon and unblock waste that has been sitting there over weeks, days, weeks, or months, and sometimes years. I've seen, I had a patient, can I tell just a little snippet story?
Yeah.
All right, I had a patient, a 20-year-old male. He was a triathlete come in at a clinic I was working for about 7 years ago, and he was 6 foot tall and he had 6-pack abs, and I can't remember his name. I'll call him Sam. So he came in and he was a picture of health, and I said, Sam, what brings you into colon hydrotherapy? I heard this was your first time. What made you choose this and why? And he said, well, you probably can't tell from my body type, but I've been eating kind of junky for the last year and a half. And he goes, he used the word performance level. He said, my performance level is down in my triathlon. I'm not swimming as fast, I'm not running as fast, I'm not biking as fast, just my overall performance is low. And so I said, all right, so as a practitioner of colon hydrotherapy, it made me think must be something else at a deeper level going on. So I said, Sam, what can you think of that you wouldn't equate to colon hydrotherapy? What else about your health is going on? And he said, he thought about it for a minute and he said, well, I've been having bad anxiety that's been getting worse for about the last year. And he said, and now I can't sleep, Carrie. I have insomnia. I don't sleep. My mind races. I'm anxious. So as a practitioner, that was sort of my bingo moment where I thought, all right, this is what we have. We have what's called brain to gut axis. And so what happens when we have stool that sits in the colon over time, sits there and becomes toxic? It starts to leak through, our small intestine into our bloodstream. And then it toxifies the blood. At that point, we have the mental aspect of waste in the colon, which means anxieties, depression, could be even headaches, insomnias. So I put this kid, again, he's 26-year-old male, through 5 colon hydrotherapies in a 7-day period in a row that week. And he lost literally 6.5 pounds of waste out of his colon. Jeez. And I said, Sam, I want you to come back and see me in a couple days. I think it was on a Friday or Saturday. So he came back Monday or Tuesday and he said, Carrie, I am sleeping like a baby. I feel remarkable. My anxiety's gone. My performance level's up in my running and biking and swimming. And I never saw the kid again, but this is fine because Sam will know in the future that when he starts to develop the mental aspect of anxieties, insomnias, and depression or headaches, that it's because he has an impacted colon again. So that's one of my more remarkable stories about colon hydrotherapy, and I hope that helped answer a lot of the questions.
That's great. It is. It makes such a big difference to get out all that toxic buildup in everybody's system. So we have another question. It says, what advice do you have to approach this holiday season in regards to nutrition and stress? It's a great question.
Well, this has been posed to, especially women who go to, this is now pre-COVID, of course, when we all used to go to fancy, cute little dinner parties or people's homes and we'd have fancy desserts and things, is to fill an an actual stemware glass or a wine glass full of Perrier and squeeze a lemon in it so you don't overdo on the sugars and the alcohol, or fill your plate with things you can that would fill you up first, like celeries and hummus, rather than going for the desserts. And so, and also pre-eating at home has always worked for me. If now again pre-COVID, if I were to go to a fancy Christmas party, I would make sure my tummy was full with good nutrition before I went to that party. So my brain wouldn't be starved of carbohydrates, my cortisol wouldn't be high, and I wouldn't crave those carbs from holiday parties.
I like that. I do the sparkly water
Yeah, right.
all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
That
that's a
is
good one.
that is a go-to.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because it even, yeah, and it makes you, there's something about social events when you're
Mhm.
holding a glass,
Mhm,
right?
right.
Like even my cup of tea in
Mhm.
the morning,
Mhm.
I want to hold it and have a
Mhm.
conversation. And I agree, the sparkling water is a game changer for social events when you're not wanting to have all the sugars
Mhm.
and stuff from the alcohol, or
Mhm.
really keep that limited.
Mhm.
Another tip I like too is I'm a vegan, and
Mm.
so I feel like I'm the odd man out as far as nutrition goes. I'm the
Mhm.
one that nobody wants to cook for.
Right,
They're like, they don't understand my diet or what I can eat. And so I
Mhm.
always like to bring a dish that I know is okay for me.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So that way it's like I'm still contributing to the dinner party, but then I know there's at least one thing that
That you can hold
that
on your fancy plate.
yes, that I
yeah.
can eat and not feel guilty
That's a great
about
idea.
because it fits within my
That's a good
dietary
idea.
restrictions.
Yeah.
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 And managing stress, I always go back to meditation. um, the more stressed out when when I'm more stressed out, I'll
Mhm.
actually try to do 20 minutes of meditation in the morning and 20 minutes at night before
Mhm.
bed.
Mhm.
And that is kind of a go-to during the holiday season.
Mhm.
And when I have trouble meditating, it's in the summers when I feel kind of carefree because
Mhm.
I don't need it.
Oh.
I'm happy. I'm like a happy, chill Jen in the summer. During holiday season, I'm meditating twice a day like
Oh.
clockwork, or
Oh.
I am just best case.
Oh, okay.
So
So outdoors works for you.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
outdoors is awesome. But I definitely think finding, and there's lots of stress reduction techniques outside of meditation. I
Yeah.
just know that that's what works for me. So another thing would be trying to get outside, even a walk,
Mhm.
10, 20 minutes
Mhm.
with fresh air and a little
Mhm.
sunshine makes
Mhm.
a big difference.
Mhm.
And, earthing techniques, getting bare feet on the earth, even for a few minutes,
Mhm.
really can help reset and just pull out some of that stress. And making time to decompress. I think that, 2020, we've had a lot of things happen this year. Everyone has, the whole world. And I think that one thing 2020 has been able to offer us when we try to look at this, Thanksgiving's coming up in a couple of days. So trying to look at this year with gratitude it's offered a lot of us a different perspective on slowing down. And
It definitely has.
yeah, and I think we
Instead
need,
of getting angry, driving down the
Yeah.
road fast, people are driving ahead of you. They're speeding on the road. They're
yeah,
flipping you off. They're not kind.
no,
You have to really focus on being kind. Because
yeah,
everybody has 2020 COVID depression and anxiety piled.
Oh,
Once we start
sure.
comparing notes, guess what? In March, it used to be an anomaly. Oh, this person's stressed out about COVID. This now we all literally are. But it's just how we deal with that stress and turn it around.
Mhm.
Make good out of a good moment. Make good out of a good meeting with someone instead of sharing your COVID nightmare stories or your COVID depression. Perhaps talk about the things that you used to talk about when you meet a stranger or a friend.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that. And it's sometimes that can just changing your perspective.
Right.
It's not going to make the virus go
No.
away, but it can
It'll help you inside.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm.
Okay, so we have another question. Do you have any advice on how to start a vegan diet? Yes, I do.
There you go.
I have a lot of advice
Like
on this
beginner's
one.
advice.
Yeah,
Maybe a beginner.
yeah, beginner
Okay.
advice is
Okay.
Don't make, so I made a lot of mistakes going vegan the first couple of times. It took me several attempts to finally get to a place where I've been able to keep it and maintain. And I think really, and this is yes for a vegan diet, but I think this advice applies to any changes you're making nutritionally in your life. And that's pick small goals that you can stick to and achieve. So I'm sure you tell your patients this too,
Oh, I do.
like, okay, if our goal is to get to a vegan diet, can you commit to 1 day a week being vegan
Without meat.
without meat?
Right.
Or can you commit to 1 meal a week? Maybe it's not even a whole day. Maybe it's 1 meal a week being vegan. And it's whatever you think you can commit to. Because what I've noticed, at least with some of my clients in the past, is if I'm trying to get them, if their goal is to get to a vegan diet to, say, reverse diabetes, doing that, saying, okay, starting Monday, you're vegan 100%, is setting them up for failure most of the time.
Just like an exercise routine. You can't say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do X, Y, to Z.
Yeah.
But going to the gym and getting in the gym is the first step.
Oh,
Say you're
completely.
there for 20 minutes. Who cares?
Yep.
Step in the door.
Yep.
Step outside for a walk. Start somewhere. Start small.
Yeah. And and everybody's kind of different on that. So maybe it's like, okay, breakfast vegan is going to be super easy for me. So I'm going to start doing all my breakfasts vegan. And then I'm going to over a little bit of time over the next month, I'm going to figure out a couple of lunches that I like, and then a couple of more, and transition to the dinner. One thing that I found living in a household with people who don't eat vegan, dinners are tricky. And so what I learned for me is I make a huge vegan meal and sometimes a little meat on the side for my kids. And so they can choose to eat completely vegan with me, or add the chicken or whatever the protein of choice is. Sometimes it's their vegetarian options for them. Sometimes it's meat. And my little one tends to be more vegan most of the time than my older one. But that was kind of my that was my ticket to success, was learning how to cook vegan dinners. And then instead of making everything revolve around the meat became a side for them,
like a side salad,
basically. And
side of meat.
Yeah.
Or side of vitamin.
Yes. And there's lots of I love the app Forks Over Knives, would be my other huge piece of advice for starting a vegan diet. They have low oil recipes in there, which is really important, at least for the way I eat vegan. And I don't digest a lot of the oil really well. And they have got a beautiful picture menu. I'm so visual. I want to see a pretty picture. And actually I can set my kids down with that app too and say, hey, tell us what we're having for dinner, or which ones look good. And they can go through and just pick the pretty pictures of something they know they'll eat, which is awesome.
Do any of you callers have kids that are picky eaters, or only, live on McDonald's or fast food or pizzas? Or do we have any callers that have a problem with their children and what they eat? And then what do they like to eat, and how would you, if you want advice from Jen, maybe to how you could turn that around in baby steps.
Yeah. Sneaking veggies into sauces, even like marinara. I love making my homemade marinara, but there's so many vegetables in there and they have no idea.
Oh,
it's just a blended red sauce for their pasta.
Oh, wow. That's a good idea.
That's a good sneaky one.
That's a really good idea.
We have another question. So is there a vegan cheese that you recommend that tastes close to real cheese? It's a good question. I don't do a lot of the processed food, to be perfectly honest. I do know that there is a lot of new brands lately. Is it Daya or Daya? Yeah, it's an almond cheese, is actually pretty good when
Mhm.
I have had that, and it melts, which I really like.
Mhm.
There's definitely some really good brands, right? Like on the market, even in the last year than there used to be.
Mhm.
And the old brands have even upgraded their recipes, I think. It's definitely come a long way. But one part of my transition to the vegan diet that was tricky is that I loved cheese. Cheese was one of the last things I gave
Cheese
up.
is hard.
Cheese is
Cheese
tough.
is tough.
It is tough. And
Yeah.
so I was a vegetarian for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I hated eggs my whole life, hated milk. I didn't have anything but cheese. It was that I couldn't give up that cheese. And wanting something to replace that, and all the vegan cheeses at the time, I've been vegan for 4 years now. I'm like, these suck. They just don't taste like cheese. And
Did you end up eating part regular dairy and part vegan then to
No,
transition, or
I
did you
just
just cold turkey
you know what
everything?
I needed to do personally was let go of the fact that I needed cheese in my life,
Oh,
because I wanted something that would taste like cheese.
how did you convince yourself of that? That must be a little mentally tough. I'm just advice-wise, how,
I think that I knew for my health that
uh-huh.
vegan was what I needed to
As
do.
far as cheese, how did you?
I think it was just that. It was like, I need to stop reaching for some sort of substitute. I'm not going to go buy vegan hot dogs or vegan ground beef
No.
or,
Right.
so it was kind of like that. It was like, okay, the vegan lifestyle is what is right for my body.
Mhm.
And once I fully committed the last time without the cheese completely,
Mhm.
within I would say within 3 weeks, I didn't crave it anymore.
Mm.
And I felt so much better. It
Well,
was
I'm sure
easy at
less
that point.
bloating and gas and yeah.
Yep, it
Yeah.
was really easy to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So, that's not quite the answer you were looking for.
But
But
maybe.
I think Daya or Daya, I don't know how to say there's some brand similar to that,
I
that
think it
has
is Daya.
Daya,
Yeah.
that has
I think it is
pretty
Daya.
consistent cheese, I think. So we have another question. Does being stressed out affect more than just your brain? Oh, yeah.
It affects your entire metabolism, including your hormones.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
And that's what's tough about stress.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
In a lot of different symptoms can come from stress. A lot of diseases come from stress.
you see GI upset, hormone imbalance, blood pressure irregulations. I mean, so
Skin
much.
rashes, everything. Yes.
Autoimmune diseases flare up
Yes.
worse with stress. Stress exacerbates so much because it's so hard on the body.
The old 70s adage, stress kills, like, old Dr. Brown in the country used to tell us when we were kids. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Now there are multiple studies, worldwide over many, many years that says the same thing. Stress kills.
There's a good question here. What are your thoughts on raw diets? Do you want to answer that?
Well, I have a bad experience with eating some raw foods. I ended up getting, even though I soaked it in lemon and steamed it, I ended up getting E. coli. So yeah, so it was raw. It was raw to begin with, but I had tried it raw and then I tried it steamed, and there was a lot of E. coli on the vegetable. So I kind of had a bad experience with that, with raw.
Yeah.
Plus digestive system, a lot of people's digestive.
I think there's two schools of thought on raw, and I think there's a lot of evidence, a lot of science and nutrition science that supports both schools of thought. So on one hand, you have more nutrients because you haven't, depleted, broken down and depleted the nutrients from cooking, especially high temperatures. And so with raw foods, the cool thing is you can eat it warm or up to 160 degrees, so you don't lose that nutrient value. And they're supposed to have more enzymes to help break themselves down in your stomach. But I agree. me personally, I've had a really hard time on raw
Mhm.
diets. I was never sick from it, but it was just really hard on my digestive system.
Macerating the food is really key when you're eating raw veggies. You have to
Yeah.
macerate that food or it won't be broken down with the saliva.
Totally. So,
So-
I've heard chewing until the consistency of applesauce.
Well, I teach that to my colon hydrotherapy patients,
Yeah.
especially the patients that are big meat eaters. We tend to just chew, swallow a bite of juicy steak. Nobody's going to put a bite of juicy steak in their mouth and chew it 20 times because that's gross. No one will do that. But the more the food is broken down before you swallow, the better for the entire digestive system.
Definitely. And I think also if you're transitioning to a raw diet for the
Mhm.
first time, I definitely think seeking guidance from a healthcare professional is a good idea, especially if you have any underlying health conditions, because you want to make sure that you're getting all of your minerals and micronutrients, because that's what I've seen is major micronutrient imbalance, and
Mhm.
so that can disrupt your other hormones that control hunger, and it can really like disrupt a lot of things, where even if your GI system can handle it, you just have to make sure that that you're doing it properly. But if that's something you'd want to venture into, I can't recommend or say totally stay away from it, because there's good science on both ways. So we can support you. Just make sure you're doing it in a healthy way. So we have another question. Do you have any recommendations to naturally or holistically treat insomnia?
One is colon hydrotherapy that I just spoke about.
That's a good one. Another one is meditation, like I
right.
spoke about.
Outdoors, meditation, colon hydrotherapy.
If you're looking for like a supplement, I've seen valerian root really effective to help people sleep at night, or essential oils even. Lavender is very calming and nice.
I've tried valerian Jen a couple times in the past, like in the 80s, and it gave me wicked nightmares. It was just, and I woke up feeling very heavy-headed.
I'd back off on that dose.
I tried, right.
For sure.
It was very disturbing. The amount of, hangover feeling I had from valerian root.
Yeah, I would back off on that.
And melatonin doesn't always work, guys, as well for everyone. Sometimes some people, it flips that body clock at night.
Well, melatonin gave me really bad nightmares.
Okay.
Another one is yin yoga. There's a or even restorative yoga, and just 10 minutes of those really restorative positions at night before bed can really just help align your body energetically.
It's called restorative yoga.
Yeah, you can find some free you could even type in like yoga
YouTube video,
yoga before bed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or bedtime yoga.
Oh, yeah, try that.
Is a really I did that for a while when I was having trouble sleeping. And it's nice too, because sometimes sleeping on pillows and beds and our weird sleep positions, we tend to sleep awkwardly, which will make our sleep restless. And I found those yoga help tend to just stretch out.
It sounds like it would feel good too.
Yeah.
Just to completely unwind before you.
That's actually something I do in the holidays. Back to that question.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I get so stressed out. Why do I get stressed out?
I know you said you love Christmas.
I love it.
And I don't.
There's shopping and
so
wrapping and
I'm off the hook.
We have another question. Where does waste linger in your colon for up to a year?
First of all, if your entire length of your 6 to 8 foot of colon is impacted, it will be backed up into this 20 feet. Watch my fingers.
I'm watching.
Of small intestine and colon, 20 feet of small intestine. The waste can back up all the way into the small intestine, in which case it starts to impact the shape of the colon into possibly a squeezed position, ballooned and squeezed and ballooned and squeezed. If you are that toxic and that backed up, you probably are in the hospital already. Have a lot of health issues, definitely.
Yeah, those aren't fun patients.
Megacolon, it's called. There's a lot of history that is true history from my hydrotherapy mentor, that actors like in the day, like John Wayne, who did the cowboy movies, used to hold on to defecating because he was involved in scene after scene after scene, hours and hours a day, 14 hours, 20 hours. He never defecated. So when he died, his autopsy showed that he had the megacolon. He was full of impaction all the way through to his small intestine.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
I've seen it even with little kids in the ER.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
Tell me.
who've had just, constipation issues,
Oh.
chronic issues, and
Right.
it's kind of it. What we had seen for a while was it was happening around potty training years, and
Oh.
so
That they weren't.
parents weren't as aware of
Mhm.
their bowel habits,
Mhm.
and they were holding, little kids were holding it at
Mhm.
school, and yeah, it was causing a lot of big problems even for little ones.
Mhm.
So healthy bowel movements
Mhm.
every time you eat is actually what's normal.
Mhm.
Every single time you
Mhm.
you eat, you should be able to have a bowel movement. Any more than that, you really are holding on and to more stool than you
Mhm.
should be.
Mhm.
We have another question, and thank you guys for all your questions. This has been really fun today. We're kind of wrapping up our
Yep.
time, but I've enjoyed this very much. Can you please explain what chelation therapy is and what are the benefits? You want to jump in on that one?
I want you to start and then I'll just add.
Okay. So chelation therapy is a therapy. It can be given IV or oral.
Mhm.
And what we do in our office is typically IV
Mhm.
chelation therapy. And what our goal is to do is pull out heavy metals out of the
Mhm.
body. And so there's lots of toxins in our environment
Mhm.
and in the food. Yeah,
Sprays on food and
especially
yes.
fish,
Yes.
things that can
Yes.
have higher levels of mercury and arsenic.
Mhm.
Sometimes our water is pretty contaminated.
Mhm.
It's an unfortunate situation, but that's just kind of the world we're living in right now.
Mhm.
The US, it's really hard to not be exposed to toxins.
I think one of the patients we had recently in our clinic, Jen, a gal patient, I won't say the name, but she had a horrendous eczematous condition on her face. She looks like she had second-degree burns on her face and her arms, and it was discovered through our cytoscan, our bioimpedance machine, that this gal had a lot of heavy metals in the body. Could have been from the water system. I believe the family that was in San Francisco, and some of the food she was eating. So we've been able to start reversing that through chelation therapy, is dragging some of those metals out of the body, and her skin is, gosh, it's just 100%. And she still has a ways to go, but improved after taking those toxins and those poisons out of her bloodstream.
And that's what's huge with chelation therapy. So the heavy toxic buildup, it presents
Like the
really
well.
different in every
Yeah.
human.
Yes.
So
Right.
some I can say, like, we're gonna clear out your for benefits. It's
Mhm.
like we're gonna clear out your arteries.
Because you have
or
cardiovascular artery disease or
right. So you're
blood
gonna see
clots and- yeah.
improved blood pressure.
Right.
Some people are gonna see improvement in skin conditions. Or another huge one I've noticed is the autoimmune disease.
Mm.
It really, that toxic load really
Mhm.
dampens the immune system. It
Mhm.
really weakens it. It makes it, it gives it it's a tough time for people. And so I would say the benefits are just general improvement of overall health.
Mhm.
And quite honestly, if you've lived in the United States your whole life,
You
I
have a
think
lot of
everyone
everyone
needs
has a lot of
chelation
metals.
therapy.
Yeah, and a lot of people have the dental amalgams over years
Yep.
that will start to disrupt their system
Oh
in
yeah.
really negative ways. So, our first advice is to, have them open their mouth. We see how much amalgam that they have, how many years has that been just every time you chew an apple or chew your food, that's breaking down those amalgam, it's leaching toxin into the body. So to remove all of the amalgam silver fillings is a good start.
Yeah. And then getting chelation therapy
to drag it all out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. But we're trying to identify the source too. It's key. And so if you're drinking, water that has tons of arsenic in it or uranium, it's really just trying to be aware of where those things come from. So there's filtration systems for your home. There's even there's even a water filtration system you can get just on your shower head alone for chlorine. It's like $45 on Amazon, and you can just screw it into your shower head. It's a much more affordable way of at least cleaning some of that out before
So
it.
you're not reabsorbing.
Yes, you're not absorbing it through your skin.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one too.
All right, and probably our last question tonight. Oh no, we still have a little time. Here's our question: is there a connection between gut health and your immune system?
Absolutely. A lot of chronic diseases start in the GI system. I mentored with enough integrative doctors in this area to know that they would say 80 to 85% of your body's immune system starts in the gut. So GI health is prominent to overall good health.
Yes, and even ancient Greek philosophers
there you go.
were aware of that. Disease begins in the gut. Or food is thy medicine, let thy medicine be thy food. I like a lot of that ancient wisdom because it's true. And definitely there's our gut permeability, right?
Leaky gut.
Yep. And you can definitely see these people with weakened immune systems, with cancer, different thyroid diseases.
Because of
they're one of our first protocols is to fix that and improve gut health. We're not going to progress fixing your immune system if we have gut issues.
Right. Think of the gut as basically the foundation. You have to start somewhere. You can always start in the gut to clear it up with the other health issues.
That is true. I like it. These have been fun questions, you guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We've really enjoyed
I can't see them.
talking with you today. We have another question. What is your advice as the first step to take to improve your gut health?
Start with looking at a food diary and what you eat. I would get a little notebook from the dollar store and start actually writing down what you eat all day, even if it's a snack, 10 grapes. Then I had lunch, then I had this, then I had that, then I cheated and I had a cookie. What do you eat all day?
I went through the drive-through and had French fries and a cheeseburger.
You have to start with a food diary and examine the food diary, and then put the food diary in the hands of, nutritionists that can actually help pinpoint where you're steering in the wrong direction.
And our first step really is going to be to remove the inflammatory foods that you're putting in, because there's no way we can repair if it's kind of
eating acid.
I heard a doctor or nutritionist say this at some lecture, and I loved it. So this isn't my quote, but I don't remember who said it. But he said, I think he was referring to poor food choices. That it's like someone kicked you in the shin, and now you're trying to heal your shin, but every day you go and like kick your shin over and over and over again. That how do you expect your stomach to heal if we keep reintroducing these inflammatory foods and these foods that trigger
that are kicking you in the gut?
Right. And so if you want your gut to heal, we have to stop kicking it in the shin, so to speak. So, and big food triggers, fast food is huge.
Acidics.
Yeah.
Coffee, sugar, dairy, meat, alcohol. Those are top 4 for sure.
Yep.
Because they're acidic. Acid equals inflammation. Inflammation equals pain.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. So yeah, we would really work with you to help you identify those triggers, but removing those triggers so we can start rebalance your gut health and bring it back to life. That's definitely going to be our first step, and identifying those. And yes, a food diary, I think, is a really good way to do that. We can sit with a highlighter. Have you done that? Or circle? Found another one.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not, and sometimes, one thing that I've always told my clients is, when you're like, okay, these are all the things that that I'm eating, I can give up everything but this. I can give up everything but cheese. Right. I can promise you that one thing you're not willing to get up is probably your biggest trigger of all. So that's one good thing to recognize, that the one thing you can't give up is definitely probably your biggest culprit. And I know nobody wants to hear that, because it's the one thing they're willing to change everything else but give up the milk, or everything else but give up the sugar or the alcohol. No, go ahead, lay down. Sorry, we have a puppy trying to say hi.
A pretty German Shepherd.
So if you guys want, we have another question here, that we can take any live questions from you guys. Everyone has their microphones on mute, so we can, we should be able to unmute you guys.
That's a good idea.
If anyone wants to give us live questions. And what I'm going to do now as well, I'm going to push out our poll. So there's only a couple questions on the poll. Please take a few minutes to answer that for us. And if you guys have any questions for us, I'm going to unmute all of you guys and ask away. I think everyone should be, if you're muted, I think it's under your control now. So you should be able to hit the microphone and mute or unmute yourself.
Oh. Yeah. How about that one? Talking permitted.
Let's see
this one.
Thank you guys. Jen and cousin. Mikey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I do have a question for you guys.
Yes.
So you mentioned picky eaters. How do you?
Adults or children?
Adults.
All the
So I have tweens. What do you think? What's a good strategy to include more healthy foods into their diet?
So, Mom, tell us what they won't eat. In what area are they picky? And then we'll give our advice.
So if it looks green, they won't eat it.
Disguise it in sauce like Jenny does to her boys.
The green stuff is definitely, one thing that I found that worked kind of fun was I kind of made a spin on it. And so like broccoli, for instance, I would roast it in the oven until it's kind of nice and brown, with a little olive oil and garlic salt. And I called it broccoli fries.
Oh, I love that.
And they were served on a plate like French fries. To where they were more crispy.
And they could pick them up without a fork.
Yes.
And dip or whatnot. Oh, that's a great idea.
And so it's really kind of making a play on the healthy foods. So like cauliflower, that's one of those things that I think tastes much better roasted. Roasting kind of
especially for kids.
Roasting's my go-to because it gives you that flavor more like the fried food that
eggplant rounds
eaters
are good
tend to try.
Eggplant rounds.
So much of it. So that's one recommendation for the picky eaters. I also like another really good sneaky one is nice cream. Nice cream. So replacing desserts with something that's also healthy. And so nice cream is my favorite vegan recipe of all time, and everybody loves it. And so you can make it in so many flavors. Pinterest has really good recipes, but my favorite one would be like a chocolate almond butter. And so what that is it's a frozen banana, almond milk, a scoop of protein powder, and some almond butter. So all of that blended, and then a little almond butter like drizzled
In
on
a
top.
blender, like a smoothie?
Yeah, but you do it with the frozen banana and just a little bit of milk. So it's really,
Super thick
it's super thick, like
that you can eat with a
like a
spoon.
little thicker than a frost, like soft serve ice
Oh,
cream.
that sounds yummy.
Oh, it's delicious. You can
Oh my
do black
God.
cherry
Oh my gosh.
flavors. You can do
No ice cream maker, you just put it in a
No,
container
a
in the
blender.
freezer?
I use that cheapo little Ninja blender thing.
It doesn't even go in the freezer. You just take it
No,
thick, serve it right out of the
I
blender.
pull my bananas out of the freezer.
Oh,
So
okay.
I freeze my bananas in the freezer and then throw that. Yeah.
Or like frozen cherries, would do that?
Frozen
Good cherry,
cherry,
banana.
frozen cherries and a little vanilla protein powder, because then you're getting in like fruit.
Oh, sneaking in, Mom.
Yep.
A little protein.
You can put spinach in with dragon fruit and it still comes out pink.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
I like that
Your
one.
kid doesn't have to know they're eating frozen spinach.
No
or
idea there's
from-
spinach in there.
That's a good-
So smoothies are another good one
Yeah.
too. I hope that helps give you a couple
Yes,
of
does.
Wow.
Thank you.
and making like the French fries with the broccoli
Mm.
or pizza with like cauliflower crust
Mm.
and the vegan cheese, or just finding some other fun ways to do the foods that are used to eating, but incorporating it with some different
What if,
different things.
Jen, what if your kid likes a hot dog? What would you say? Would never give your kid a hot dog. It's poison. Talk about a hot dog for most of middle American kids.
That's tough because mine know what hot dogs are. But I think my first advice on that would be switch to a plant-based version of that, because it's going to be way less carcinogenic. It's still processed and still not ideal, but that would be my first go. If it's like, man, they eat hot dogs, this is part of our life and our routine. I would do everything in my power to get my kids switched over to a vegan plant-based. Beyond Meat is a really good version. They make sausage type things.
What is it made out of though, Jen?
Plants.
Oh.
And mine
And
love
how icky is it for a child?
I love it. But my kids are
right.
If they had the choice of chicken, broccoli, and roasted potatoes over a pizza, they'd go chicken, broccoli, roasted potatoes. So, but that's what I ate, and they never bought baby food. I blended up the food I was eating, and that's what they ate. So they're used to that. I know mine are probably an exception to the rule, but as they've gotten older, they're more picky about the vegetables they'll eat. And I have to get a little tricky. I like grilling zucchini. They love grilled zucchini. That is one of their favorite foods, but roasting, grilling are kind of my secrets. Yeah.
Oh,
It'll get it in them. We have another question typed into our Q&A here. Can you recommend food or supplements to take on a prophylactic basis for stress? That's really hard without seeing your chart or doing more with you. For foods or supplements really on stress, I think honestly my go-to on that answer is back to meditation
and maybe back to the inflammatory foods
inflammatory foods. But to reduce stress for sure, it's going to be cutting out processed foods too, and really going just to whole foods, like not buying mashed potatoes, but buying potatoes that you can bake and roast on your own, or boil and make your own mashed potatoes. So at least you know what's in it, and cutting out, there's so many preservatives and chemicals and fillers put into foods that don't belong there, that don't belong in the human body, in my opinion, on some of these foods. So I definitely would recommend cutting out processed foods. I think that would be probably one of the biggest first things I would do to change, to reduce stress on the body. And cutting out just the garbage foods that are easy to identify. That does take its toll. That does weaken, your gut health and overall immunity. That would be my recommendation. You think?
For sure.
Yeah.
Stress on the body. Yeah. Stress on the body starts with food.
Yep. Sure
Yeah.
does.
And
And
that's an easy one to figure out. You don't need a prescription for food.
yeah. And gratitude too before you
Mhm.
eat. There've been some pretty amazing studies on
Yeah.
gratitude
And food.
and food
And preparing
eating.
food.
So
Yeah.
I'll just do
Yeah.
a really fast snippet of this study because I can talk forever, but I love this. So they did there many studies on gratitude, just like meditation. But one of my favorites is they took identical twins. They were the same weight.
Yeah.
They were given the same diet, and for 12 weeks. They ate the exact same food, exact same amount of food, prepped the same way, bought from the same grocery store. They had like a chef making the food and splitting it. And the only difference between these sisters is one had to eat on a time schedule. She had to eat at breakfast time, at lunchtime, at her snack time, at dinner time, whatever times they had set forth. The other twin sister could only eat when she felt calm and peaceful and could offer gratitude to her food.
So it might have not have been the same amount of times per day, obviously.
Right. So they ate the same amount of food, the same exact food, but if she was upset,
There was no timetable.
No timetable. She wasn't allowed to eat. And she was only allowed to eat when she was calm and grateful.
Okay.
And in a good feel good spot.
Right.
And I think the twin that was told to eat on the clock schedule actually gained 5 pounds, and the twin that was told to eat during gratitude lost like 10.
Cortisol.
Yeah, in a 12-week period. And so you're talking identical makeup, identical food,
Stress.
identical calories.
Stress associated with eating.
Exactly.
Shouldn't be that way.
No, it shouldn't. And so I know that's one of my
That's a good
favorites
one.
because it just
good one.
reinforces all of my belief
Wow.
systems. Like,
I'll remember that now.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
be lovely and happy. And I am that type that I know for sure when I'm upset, like I will not eat. I'm
the same way.
That's kind of my rule. I'm like, I can't eat right now. It's just not right for my body.
But I have one of my best friends, a girlfriend who, when she's stressed, I manja, and then her belly, her cortisol goes up.
And you know what that is? Those are numbing behaviors when she's stressed. And if you can sit for her, but yeah, so is TV. TV's numbing behaviors. Those are, and a mindfulness lecture. I think one was done recently, or one is coming up. That's one thing to be mindful of is the numbing behaviors. We have one more question. I came in late, so you may have discussed this, but how accurate are the food chemical sensitivity tests that you see advertised online? The at-home test. Yeah. So I don't know about the at-home test specifically.
Me either. I don't know what's online.
I would like to know what test specifically you're referring to be able to speak on that.
Do you have a name caller of a test that you found online?
But we have one that we.
Hey, this is Carrie. This is Gina.
I know. I'm calling.
Okay. No, I just see them advertised all the time. Like Everly Well is one of the companies.
Everly Well is good, Gina. The only problem with Everly Well is I feel like it only does 200 different foods and flavors and
one that Jen and I like is it's a blood draw from the company called Meridian Valley. And there's over 500 food items, everything from every meat, every type of veggie, every type of condiment, every type of cheese.
How accurate do you use them in your practice, and how accurate do you think they are from a wellness perspective?
From a clinic I worked for several years, they were very accurate. We have not implemented them in our clinic, but we are in the works of implementing that particular test into our plans.
And I have worked with Everly Well specifically in another facility, and I found it very accurate, especially when what we used it a lot. We call it functional medicine. We that really comes into play when you're looking at disease triggers. So if you're overweight, if you have leaky gut syndrome, if you have an autoimmune disease, it's kind of like digging in to find the trigger. And so those, Everlywell specifically, I like the one we are bringing in because it tests so many more things. It is more expensive as well, but it looks at your response to it,
your
to
inflammatory response to it,
to
to
see
the food.
how reactive and how sensitive you
correct.
are. So you could be, slightly sensitive to green beans, but off the chart in almonds, and it's going to tell you how sensitive your body is. And I think that's amazing information on a healing journey.
So you would recommend it? Maybe not Everlywell, but it's a good baseline, perhaps, if you want to just have better general health.
I do. I think that's one of the key things to healing the body from the inside out, and that's how we heal, and we want to heal everything. So yeah, I think that's definitely a key factor. And Everlywell is great. They're
Just limited.
Are very accurate. Yeah, I would just like to see a bigger range. But I'm also that brain that if I can get 400 things on,
Sure.
I'm gonna want more information.
Me too.
Yeah, that's just my brain. So, so we have another question, and we're gonna wrap things up here.
Who's it from?
It's from Michael. Is there a big difference and veggie and fresh?
Frozen comes from fresh, and flash frozen. You don't want chemicals sprayed on that frozen veggie pack.
Yeah,
Fresh
organic.
is obviously more nutritional then.
Well, they do. Yeah, they do sell organic frozen veggies.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And
yeah.
And that's a big thing too for the people who are, who need to stock up on food and just have it on hand.
Right.
Or if something's out of season, if it's frozen, it's usually, like you said, flash frozen. So it preserves the nutrients way better than buying something in a can that's loaded
I would
with.
never buy a vegetable in a can ever.
Because the can's got chemicals, it's got preservatives, and those have sometimes they're contaminated with aluminum from the can. So yeah, definitely if you're gonna be buying something that you need to like, go with the fresh frozen.
I buy a ton of Mike. I buy a ton of organic frozen veggies, broccoli, cauliflower, rice cauliflower. You can have a whole meal with riced cauliflower. What else? Maybe if you don't eat hopefully you don't eat a lot of beans to add a lot of calories. Rice cauliflower makes a great side, or even a main dish with a baked Japanese potato or baked yam, and without the meat. And you can have an entire bowl full until you're full. Because it is hard to buy fresh vegetables.
And expensive.
You might not be interested in them. Absolutely buy frozen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a lot of my fruit, I do smoothies every morning for breakfast, and so the majority of my fruit I buy frozen.
I do too. Yeah.
Already.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks,
This has
guys.
been really
Thank you. That's awesome.
It's good to hear your voices.
It is good to hear your voices, you guys. Well, thank you for everything. And if we don't have any other further questions, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, family.
Same to you guys.
Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.